Hello, everyone, and welcome in. College football week 9 is here. Yeah, we're that far into the season. We're going to be previewing a couple of the games that have a lot of meaning heading in to the back half of the season. Will Manis is going to be joining me. Ralph Leary is going to be joining me. My name is Bryce Koon. This is a Wednesday night edition, live of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Bryce Koon, Ralph Leary, Will Manis, as we get ready to rock and roll here on a Wednesday evening. We appreciate you so much for watching live, whether that's on Facebook. I don't think we're live on Facebook, actually.
We're not. I saw a little thing that said we couldn't go live on Facebook.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. Facebook, thanks, whatever the guy's name is that has Facebook. But that's okay. That's okay. If we're live on Twitter, if you're watching over there, the biggest thing that I need you to do is get your comments heard, get your comments seen. Head over to YouTube. That link is on our profile over there as well. We appreciate you tuning in on a lovely, lovely Wednesday night. Guys, this is the final full week of October. We begin kind of the countdown to bowl season, the countdown to the playoff, most importantly, the final full month of the college football regular season. It's flown by, and man, I'm going to miss. Will and I were talking about this the other day, Ralph. I think you were working when we were talking about this. We said, I'm going to kind of miss doing these every single Monday and Wednesday night. I'm going to miss, we're going to do something different. We're going to have still some program, but it's obviously not going to be the way we've been doing it here the past couple of weeks and now 2 months into the season, but it's been a lot of fun. First year ever doing this, and we're ready to rock and roll. And more importantly, Dr. Bob's in the house. That's what we needed to see.
Where was he Monday?
He wasn't here Monday, but that's okay. We respect what he's trying to do. Ralph Leary, Bryce Koon, Will Manis. Let's rock and roll with game number 1 on the docket that we're taking a look at. It's obviously in the the banner image, not the banner image, whatever it's called on YouTube, the thumbnail. Georgia, Florida, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Depending on what fan you are, this one's either Florida, Georgia, or Georgia, Florida. Depending on what part of the state you are. Guys, this is a game where I think coming into the year, I didn't think this was going to be as pivotal. I don't know if it's going to be a very, very close football game. This game is kind of one of the first of a couple that is going to decide the SEC East winner. This one, and then obviously Georgia gets Missouri next weekend. So the first 2 weeks are going to be really, really interesting in that manner. Your thoughts? Georgia comes in as a 14.5-point favorite without Brock Bowers. It's kind of the first time we get to see this team without him. What can they do?
Are you going with
You didn't
Will?
pick anybody.
Yeah, you just said.
I said, Will, we're starting with you.
Well, for
Go
one,
ahead.
I like to say this. We did lose you for like half a second there, so you probably
That's probably
blanked
why.
out.
That's probably why.
Yeah, that's why.
That's probably why. Go ahead, Will.
I mean, I really like Georgia, even without Brock Bowers in this one. I think this is a matchup made for Georgia, Florida. A running team. I think Georgia's kind of figured out their run defense the last couple of weeks. Auburn, I think, made them kind of tighten things up. They really did a really good job shutting down Ray Davis and then dispatching Vanderbilt the last couple of weeks, and they get a bye week, so they get a chance to get healthy. Florida also coming in on a bye week, coming in off of a bye week. Man, they're going to run the ball. They've got 2 really good backs in Etienne and Johnson. Going to make it tough on Georgia, but I think Georgia's going to be up to the task. That front 7. They've been taking this heat personally, and Kirby Smart, he wants to beat Florida more than anybody else, I think, while he's at Georgia. So, I think Georgia's going to come in with an edge, come in ready, and even without Brock Bowers, show you how complete of an offense they are. The question mark is who's going to step up, and I think it's got to be those receivers, Ra Thomas, Rosemy Jack-Saint, Ladd McConkey. I think Ladd McConkey will have his biggest game of the year. Obviously, he's been limited to this point, but they're going to really need him to step up, really help Carson Beck and that offense out to be able to, really just cover this 14.5-point spread. A big spread, bigger than I expected it to be with Bowers out.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is one of those games that even dating back to last year was close in the third quarter, and that was a team that Georgia felt like obviously probably a better team on paper than they have here in 2023, and probably a worse Florida team, if we're being honest with ourselves, in that day and age. A couple things I wanted to talk about before we throw it to Ralph here. Georgia, each of the last 3 seasons, has now lost we'll see how long of a time for Bowers, but a key playmaker on their team. Last year it was Nolan Smith. They lost him in this Florida game. Now he was kind of essentially a coach the rest of the way. They've lost a big part of their roster. They've lost a big part of what makes them special. And you mentioned, Will, I mean, can they overcome Brock Bowers? I don't know if the Georgia offense, to me, this is going to be Florida's offense against Georgia's defense. Florida is a team that can throw the ball. Graham Mertz coming off a performance where he threw for over 420 yards against South Carolina 2 weeks ago. Georgia's pass rush, like you mentioned, I don't think they've been able to really flex their muscles this season. Are they, as good? Are they one of the elite, units in the country? I think that's going to be something to kind of watch. If Graham Mertz has time, that's the key to an upset for this Florida team. Ricky Pearsall, a playmaker that I'm excited to watch go up against this Georgia secondary. Ralph, your thoughts on this game where it's one of those games in the SEC that it kind of feels like kind of anything can happen if your cards are played right.
Yeah, you talk about Graham Mertz. He's been the most efficient quarterback, honestly, I think, through the first, 9 weeks now? This is week 9?
His efficiency numbers are wild, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 12 touchdowns for 2 interceptions, been sacked 19 times this year.
I mean, honestly, stat for that.
Oh.
We'll
so does Dr. Bob.
I don't have it ready.
Dr. Bob goes, I'll read it real quick, Ralph, for the folks that might be listening after that. Graham Mertz has the 3rd highest completion percentage in the country, behind only J.J. McCarthy and former Auburn quarterback in Eugene, Oregon. He's been pretty efficient.
Actually, he would have the second highest because Graham Mertz is a 76.2.
Oh.
That's what it has on ESPN. I mean, I don't know if that's
thanks to the Joker for that former Auburn QB in Eugene, Oregon right there. I don't know if y'all keep up. If you see Auburn Twitter, you know who I'm referring to. Man moonlighted as the Joker this week. So,
well, all I just finished saying is just basically this goes between Graham Mertz and you said Ricky Pearsall. I mean, he is their best playmaker on the field, honestly, in my opinion. He's been doing everything for them this year. But that's the thing; he's their best one, as a receiver. You got to have someone step up besides him because Georgia's got a great secondary. I mean, it's not as good as it has been in the past, but if you have 1 or 2 guys stop him, you got to find someone else to throw to. So, I mean, he has almost 20 more catches than anyone else on the team does.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to find someone else to throw to because Ricky Pearsall is going to be locked up probably. And this is where you go to who can step up. Same with Georgia, who can step up for Brock Bowers, who can step up for when your guy's not having his best game. So it's going to be a all-out performance for Florida. You got to come out and play your best ball. You had a week off. Georgia had a week off. So it's just to see who had the best week off. It truly is.
Yeah, you've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and I think that's something too. You'd mentioned playmakers. Can Georgia's run defense, Will, you mentioned it, they struggled against Auburn. Have they fixed everything they needed to fix? Obviously, they limited Ray Davis in that game against Kentucky. The biggest thing I don't think they have faced, and you could probably go back to the first half against South Carolina, is a team that has a balanced passing attack alongside a solid running game. We know Auburn doesn't have a great passing attack. Devin Leary has not lived up to the expectations that a lot of people thought he would at Kentucky. That being said, if Florida can be efficient in the passing game, it's going to be able to soften up that defense for guys like Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne to be able to do what they do best. Will, you and I were talking earlier. Billy Napier has the recipe of what he wants Florida to look like in that physical downhill running game.
Yeah, but I think to really make a difference in this one, Mertz is going to have to throw the ball down the field. I mean, the majority of his passes are within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. So they're going to have to at least get something in the intermediate passing game just to back off Georgia's front, keep them from loading the box. Ralph talked about Mertz's efficiency. There's no denying it, but Carson Beck's been pretty good too. He's sitting at 73% completion percentage. So, I mean, this might be a crisp, clean game on both sides from both offenses, and it'll be really fun to watch. There could be a lot of points in this one.
There could be. Another thing, obviously, Georgia's defense is number 1 in the country, and on third down percentage, Florida is really not that great. They're 33% clip they convert. You mentioned the down-the-field passing game. That's why South Carolina had success in the first half. That's why they were able to do what they were doing, because Spencer Rattler took some chances with his receivers down the field. If it's a lot of check downs, I do agree with you there. You've got to spread this Georgia defense out and then be able to run the football. That's a really big key there, guys. It sounds like we're all comfortable saying Georgia is the winner here.
Yeah.
I want to play off what you were saying, Will, though. I think this has a chance just to be a really clean, well-executed football game on both sides, but there's just an obvious gap in the talent level between Georgia and Florida. I think a lot of Florida fans could leave this game thinking, you know what, we're just not there yet. But you know what, we played the best to our ability because it's really still a rebuilding project there in Gainesville. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think Florida's several years away from Georgia. Transfer portal could expedite that if they can hit. We talked about Florida State on Monday. If Napier can do the same thing the portal Mike Norvell's done, that can really accelerate this rebuild. Also, huge rivalry game, probably a lot of penalties. Got to keep emotions in check.
Emotions, yeah.
Those
I
emotions
lean
move
toward
over to the NFL sometimes.
They do.
I lean toward.
That.
I definitely lean toward Kirby Smart having that advantage over Napier. So I really do think Georgia, that 14.5 number, that's a lot for me.
I'll say this.
Not sure if Georgia can cover that, but it'll be around that number, I think.
I say this: if you're a Florida fan, you come out and you cover that 14.5 spread, you walk away with your head up high.
Yeah,
that's what
Absolutely.
you want to do. I mean, if you keep it to a 3-point game, congratulations, you played the best football of your entire life. Honestly,
yeah.
Tonight. So
yeah, you'd have to play well above. Will, I said I had a final score actually 31-17 was my final. So that's just barely
Right
getting
at
in
it.
that spread right there, 14.5. But I think that there's no such thing as a moral victory for a lot of people. Georgia Tech fans certainly feel like that. But what I will say is, if you are a Florida fan, guys, with the recruiting class they're putting together in that 2024 class, man, if you can. I mean, they're already well. I told you I ranked them dead last in the SEC East. I thought they were going to just be absolutely feeble, and they've done a lot of good things where they can, still play for a solid bowl positioning, and see what happens later on in the season in November. Georgia and Florida, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It's always a fun one, guys. I know you haven't been. I've been one time. That's usually the picture that folks pull up over on, message boards. But man, it's a good time.
I have a problem with people in jorts and flip flops, so probably won't be.
That's just Jacksonville as a whole, though. Honestly, if we're just being real with ourselves, it's all that North Florida is really just South Georgia. If we're honest, it's a nice little mix of that. It is. Exactly. So, let's move on. Next game on the docket. As we take a look into the ACC, going over once again, this is a game that guys, I was watching ACC Media Days earlier today for basketball. And yeah, I'm still a big Hubert Davis guy. Still love North Carolina and UNC basketball. But Duke football is really, really fun to watch. And they suffered a loss last week that I think it was just one of those things where we saw that 13th ranked ACC talent composite score just be outmatched by a better football team. This one, though, I think is a testament to Duke's coaching. Can they, and Riley Leonard day to day, can they make a difference? And Dr. Bob brings up a great point. A lot of people say, well, Florida State handled them. Riley Leonard got hurt and had that lower body injury once again. So guys, they're going to Louisville, two teams that are trying to, I guess you could say, still battle in the ACC for a chance to go to Charlotte. Will, your thoughts on this one? That's going to be a really, really fun one.
Yeah, this one, I looked long and hard at it earlier. This was nearly going to be my best bet, and I was really leaning Louisville. But the question mark with Riley Leonard, he's day to day. If he's not out there, man, it's going to be Louisville. Duke desperately needs him to be able to win this game. Louisville, they're in wounded animal mode. I know they had a week off last week, but they're still coming off that loss at Pitt where they were just flat and just got beat on in all aspects of the game. So they're going to be back home. It's a big game coming against Duke. Louisville, they want to right the ship. I mean, you said it. They're both still fighting in the ACC. North Carolina dropping a game, that really opens up that second spot for the championship game. So Duke, Louisville, Miami, I think they're still in it. Maybe not. That was a big win against Clemson. They'll need some help, but there's a lot of teams still vying for that spot. I think this is going to be a really fun game, hard-nosed, physical game. But I'm going to lean Louisville with the Riley Leonard question mark. We saw Louisville week one kind of not look great against Georgia Tech, but they're a team that's gotten better every week. Brahms off to a really good start up there.
Yeah, you talk about a team that really hit on the portal. Obviously, a guy that's from around our area, Jamari Thrash, former Troup County Tiger. That kid, we saw him week one, and he exploded in that second half against Georgia Tech. And Dr. Bob has a great point. This is the swing game. The goal was always to get to Chapel Hill, he says, with one conference loss. And you've done that. You've got a chance, or I shouldn't say you've done that. You've got a chance to still do that. This is one, though, I also think Duke is going to come up against a Louisville offense that We've seen Plummer, when he is effective, there's not much of a pass rush. Duke is number 1 in the country in quarterback hurries. So if that's something that, continues to trend the right way, that could be a really key stat to kind of look at. Ralph, for this one, 2 really good football teams, and I think 2 teams that have shown, hint, hint, that in the ACC, you can turn your program around very, very quickly.
Yeah, and you talk about Jack Plummer, what he's been doing this year is really great. One thing I remember from the Georgia Tech game is he just scrambled ball. He scrambled very well, 9 for 51.
More
yards.
mobile than we thought, I think.
Right.
Yes.
And so moving forward is contain Jack Plummer. If you let him sit back there and you let him throw all day, he's going to beat you. But you get some good pass rush. You can't let him get outside you because he can scramble him. He can make some plays. You go back to like when they lost to Pitt. He had 6 carries for negative 47 yards. He was sacked 4 times. He had to throw 52 times. I mean, make him throw the ball more because that's where I think he finds himself in more trouble than not. So if Duke wants to win, which Duke has a great defense, man. I think they're probably the second best defense in the ACC. I would probably say maybe top ACC defense probably. I can't go off the top of my head who's probably do
I would say without looking stats, I feel comfortable in that range. Yeah.
Right, 1 or 2. Easily. So this defense can. I think they could still make a good game. I think they could hold Louisville down enough to let this offense score a few touchdowns, maybe get a defensive stop where they could get in good field position. Make get a score. So I'm gonna go Duke here. I like Duke. With or without Riley Leonard, I think this team is still better than Louisville right now.
You talk about defense. I think Duke does have the better defense. Louisville, that game against Pitt, which was kind of uncharacteristic of what they had done so far this season. I don't know. Maybe, Will, I know you refer to those kind of trap games when you had that sandwiched in between Notre Dame and Duke and kind of that bye week where they're looking ahead saying we can't wait to get to the bye week. But Pitt is a tough team to go beat, at their place. That's not an easy one. But they gave up 414 yards. Pitt threw the ball 45 times in that game. I think this game hinges a lot on the health of Riley Leonard. I do think Duke has the better defense that will be able to keep them in the game. I'll say this, and this is probably way too easy. If Riley Leonard plays in this one, I like Duke. If he doesn't, I like Louisville. I think that is just the biggest thing. And Dr. Bob's comment right here, Ralph, you want to throw that last one up that he has. I think this is the sign once again of a really good head coach. Dr. Bob says the staff cleared Leonard to go back in, but Elko wisely held him out. You could see on the sidelines Elko say, "No, you're not going back in. We need you the rest of the way." One, that's a guy who understands the 30,000-foot view of what Duke is trying to accomplish this season, and also any pro potential that Riley Leonard might have at the next level, and keeping him healthy for that as well. So I'm going to actually sit here. I'm going to go Louisville in this one at home. But it's it's one of those things where Mike Elko definitely doesn't call timeouts before he punts, and Duke I think is these are 2 good teams. This is going to be, Will, you talked about it. I think this is going to be a fundamentally sound football game. 2 well coached teams. You got 1 veteran coach, 1 kind of new head coach, and man, it's going to be a fun football game to watch. Obviously LSU with a bye week, so I'll be in front of the TV all day Saturday. Can't wait for that one. So let's rock and roll. Next game we got on the docket here. We go to what has kind of turned into, guys, a little bit of a rivalry game between these 2 teams. Tennessee, Kentucky, it feels like the past couple of years that this game has kind of been one of those where both teams are jockeying, with Florida being down, South Carolina kind of not very, very consistent, Missouri really not part of the picture. Jockeying for that second, and I'm not mentioning Vanderbilt, jockeying for that maybe second or third position in the SEC East. Will, Tennessee comes off, they need a bounce back game here, I think, obviously against Alabama to try and, I would say, if Tennessee comes out and wins this football game, it gives more confidence in Josh Heupel as a leader and a head coach, not letting what was a tough loss last weekend in Tuscaloosa snowball. Your thoughts on this one where they head to Kentucky, which, look, we know Devin Leary really has not been able to throw the football. Is Ray Davis enough, in that defense for Kentucky?
Yeah, this has really turned into a pretty big rivalry in the SEC East the last 4 or 5 years. Kentucky not really having a natural rival. It's turned into Tennessee. Yeah. These 2 fan bases don't like each other, no doubt about it. This is a tough one to pick. Tennessee on the road, they're coming off of a road loss. But, defense travels, and I think Tennessee has the better defense. In Tennessee, we know they have that run game. They're not going up against a front like they did against Alabama. I like Kentucky, I like Tennessee in this game. Kentucky's inefficiencies and just poor play from Devin Leary does not give me a whole lot of confidence for them. I know they're going to try to come out and run the ball and establish a running game, but Tennessee's front is just too good. They're too good against the run. And I don't have a lot of faith in Devin Leary. I like Tennessee to get up off the mat and put that Alabama loss behind them and to really just come and just roll on Kentucky. I like Tennessee big.
Ooh, I like that. That's an interesting one. There, Tennessee big. The spread on this one, obviously 4 points. But really, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I know you guys are more experienced in this than I am. Where you get 3 points for being at home. So really, they're thinking Tennessee is about a touchdown favorite in this one. So, Ralph, your thoughts before I kind of talk about this one. Two teams, like Will said, don't really like each other, starting to form that SEC East rivalry.
Yeah, I thought this about Tennessee, though. If you come out like you did against Alabama in that first half, and you play like that for 4 quarters, you walk out of this stadium with probably a blowout win, honestly, because you look great in the first half. But if you come out in the second half like you did against Alabama, you might get rolled up on here. And this is a team that you really want to stop Ray Davis. You want Devin Leary to throw the ball a lot. If you get Devin Leary out there throwing it, you're possibly going to win pretty easily because he has not been he hasn't lived up to the standard we thought he would do in the SEC. So, Jabari Wright, he's got to get going. I mean, I thought last week he just didn't really play his best game. I think that Joe Milton was the leading rusher last week for Tennessee, which that shouldn't happen with the running back they have. So, get the run going. Don't put so much pressure on Joe Milton, and because if he's throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, he's bound to throw some interceptions and be wildly inaccurate like he was at Florida. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. If he has that first half, then he can find that he had against Alabama, and he can kind of turn that into a full 60. I'm with Will. I think Tennessee wins big. The thing that concerns me is, it's
catching strays in the comments.
I see. I see. Well, I'm not even looking. Will just takes Tennessee. I just bet the house on Kentucky. Fade Will. We're gonna make T-shirts. #Fade Will.
I don't know why. I don't know.
We're gonna get to
Look
it.
At the
Don't spoil
spreadsheet.
it. Don't spoil it. We're bringing the spreadsheet out later on in the show, so make sure you tune into that one.
Finally.
Yeah, Ralph finally getting in that win column. It's like week 3. He's pumped. Listen, I'll say this. Kentucky plays a weird way of football. The only team that's really had great success, I should say, has been Georgia. And I think you got to throw that out with what Georgia has personnel-wise against the rest of the SEC East. And I love it. Dr. Bob right here. The Moonshine versus the Bourbon Bowl. That's good. I like it. I like that one right there. Tennessee can run, guys. The passing attack has been just made the bet even stronger. Love it right there. I need something strong to get through the rest of this show. The Vols are 0-2 when averaging fewer than 4 yards per carry. They're 5-0 when averaging more. Georgia, in that game against Kentucky, just dominated the defense. But I think it was more of a, the fact that I feel like Kentucky, among other SEC teams that are represented here tonight, has kind of fired the idea of the forward pass. They don't really enjoy that all that much. They're struggling to get to 50% each week. They haven't hit 130 yards in any of their last 3 games. And Tennessee's defense is really good against the run. I'm taking Tennessee, and I'm taking the points here. I think the Vols are able to put together a full 60-minute effort. And I think it's a good game. I think it's a good game for about a half. And then I think Tennessee starts to wear on them a little bit because I don't think Kentucky can move the ball efficiently.
I love hearing that stat because I've talked all year about how Auburn went 9 straight games and Power 5 games without throwing for 100 yards, and Auburn's got it 2 weeks in a row. And
2 weeks in a row.
Kentucky can't throw.
Kentucky hasn't got over 130 in any of the last 3 games.
Well,
and here's
we kept Auburn's at 100. They're kept theirs at 130. So remember,
hey, that's just one. That's 3 first downs, buddy. That's all that is. 3 first downs. No one has been able to get, by the way, guys, 200 rushing yards on Tennessee's defense, and it allows just 110 per game. Also, Kentucky's offense in their last 3 games, they have had 1 or more turnovers. If that trend continues, Georgia Tech fans know better than anybody. You can't win a game against anybody not winning or playing with turnovers. It's just not, you can't do that. So I like Tennessee in this one. Ralph, let's get to that next game. Going to be a lot of fun to look at this one right here.
This one's exciting. Let's just, Bryce, I'm going to switch it over to it, and then we'll put him on solo, and then let him go.
Yeah,
okay?
I am
disclaimer.
Wait,
tell me before we do it. Get it off. Do you want to go back to the original game we talked about? We can do it. It's fine.
I have no idea. What was it? I don't even know what it was.
It was Tech against UNC.
I'm
previewing that one tomorrow.
That.
Okay, Ralph, change it.
No, we'll talk about Auburn.
Okay,
Even though I'm
go.
disgusted.
Yeah, I'm talking about Tech tomorrow, so it's that we figured that out.
Just
Will, I'm tempted to
disgusting.
take Mississippi State plus 6.5. I want you to tell me why I shouldn't.
I don't really have a reason why you shouldn't. I mean, these two teams. Okay, Pete Gate.
Pete Gate.
Pete Gate makes the live show.
Don't worry,
I mean,
I already had it made.
I mean, we might be looking at another 3-2. I'm not kidding.
Ecstatic.
I don't even know what the over under is, but take the under because neither of these offenses like scoring
43.5.
Oh God, give me the under. I mean, neither of these offenses like scoring points. We just saw Mississippi State beat Arkansas 7-3 on the road. Auburn's been scoring around 20 points or 20 plus, except the LSU game
and A&M game.
Yeah, and A&M. So I don't know. I would just take Auburn for that. Auburn's going to be at home. I'll actually be there, so I'll be contributing to the noise. I can actually afford to go to this one, unlike the Ole Miss game. I guess the Ole Miss fans kept the ticket prices high. I don't like Ole Miss fans very much anymore. They're getting a little too loud, a little too proud. But they're good right now. They're good right now. Yeah, I'm going Auburn. That 6.5.
You think they cover that? You think they cover that?
Yeah, I think because Auburn at least can score touchdowns. Mississippi State,
they scored one last week. Will
they scored one last week?
That's all
They did score 30 against South Carolina, but I like Auburn's defense better than South Carolina's.
Yeah.
Auburn in a low scoring game. Take the under if you want to bet it because Auburn's probably not going to score 30. I know Mississippi State's not going to score 30. And it doesn't matter who plays quarterback. If it's going to be Will Rogers or Mike Wright, they're not going to score enough points. This is going to be ugly.
I'll say this. I don't think it's going to be as ugly as last week's Mississippi State-Arkansas game. That was one of the worst football games that we've really seen. So that was really, really bad. Here's a stat for you, though, Ralph, when you look at this. Mississippi State's 0-3 when they allow teams to get to the 74% completion rate. 4-0 when they don't. I don't think Auburn's going to get close to 74% completion rate unless the average yards per throw are under 5. Unless
Auburn throws 3 for 4. That might be the only way. If Auburn only throws 4 passes and completes 3 of them.
How do you feel about 8? They go 7 and 8.
That's pushing it.
That's pushing it.
Who's playing quarterback? Who's making those 8 throws?
I don't know.
It's probably going to be 6 Thorne and 2 Ashford.
Getting Holden a touch in there. As long as you're not quarterbacking the offense, I think we're fine.
Holden will get a sack. Holden will get sacked on a double pass.
So listen, Auburn's not going to be perfect, but I think this is the first time they're playing an SEC team where I think they should win. And obviously, Vegas thinks that as well. I think this is going to be a grind. I think this is going to be where two teams are going to have to find a way to win this one. Mississippi State doesn't really do anything extraordinary well. They don't really run the football well. They don't really pass the ball with consistency. I do not, guys. I don't know the status of Will Rogers. I have no clue if he's playing in this football game or not. But that's something where if he were playing, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. It's going to be Mike Wright, former Vanderbilt quarterback, that they're going to have to roll out there. So I like Auburn.
I say what you want.
Close.
He got a win on the road last week.
He did. That's true. I don't know if he got the win or Dan Enos lost that game. Either one,
Enos was too busy emailing people back during the game.
That's one of the most amazing things ever. Ralph, your thoughts on this one, Mississippi State, Auburn? I think obviously home field advantage is going to play a big part.
I go back to last year, and I think this game fired up a lot of Auburn fans last year because this was Cadillac's first coaching performance, and
yes,
man, he gave it his all. Man, they lost in overtime. It was a heartbreaker for Auburn, but Robbie Ashford last year threw for 7 for 22 for 75 yards.
That's under 74%, correct? 7 of 22.
Okay, way under 74%. But he also carried the ball 18 times for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. So my one thing for Auburn is just play Ashford. Stop watching. I can't watch Peyton Thorne play again, dude. It's rough. And I know Will's just probably beating himself up every time he sees Peyton Thorne step on the field for a third down play because Robbie Ashford came in for 2, and then they put him in third down and third.
It's just a waste of everybody's time.
So at this point, I'll take Auburn. Auburn at home.
Okay.
It's Auburn at home, man. That's just my thing. I thought last year, Ole Miss last week, Ole Miss was going to probably hang 40 or 50 on it, and I thought Auburn played very well defensively, and then offensively just didn't do enough, honestly. So if Auburn wants to win this game, you got to play like you did last week defensively, and you got to hold the ball longer because you keep the defense on the field too long, you're tiring them out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we all take Auburn here. I'm going, solely off the fact that 31.82%, Dr. Bob with the mental calculator, Peyton Thorne to name that now shall not be said. You almost got banned. Because I refused to mention that name on this show.
Hey, 32% and still went to overtime.
Play Robbie Ashford, please.
I think Auburn should tap into that formula that Cadillac did last year. I don't know why they don't.
46 carries. Just hand the ball off. Triple option. Here we go.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
They averaged 5 yards carry, almost 6 yards carry. So just
2 plays. That's a first down, baby.
Down.
I mean, that's
what my high school coach told us.
That's what you're going. Yeah, our high school coach. Where is he at? I don't know. Somewhere not without a job. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. Last game we're picking on the schedule. We're taking a trip out west. Now, listen, I'll tell you this: all three of us not communicating this. All of our best bets are on the Pac-12. Remember, Ralph said not the best conference. ACC's better. Let's just bookmark that. Ralph, any college basketball predictions this year? Getting started next week.
Oh,
Big Ten sucks. You want to go ahead and throw it out there?
Iowa will be the best team out there.
Okay. Whatever.
Luka Garza comes back and plays.
Jeez, I hope not. Plays in Israel, maybe. We're not going to open that up to anything. Oregon, Utah in this game. Guys, Will, you're high on Oregon. Utah gets the win last weekend. They showed some life offensively against USC late. Utah's defense is good. Utah has been able to get by with what they have offensively, but this is a chance for Oregon to stay in that Pac-12 title race. How do you feel about this one matching up there on the West Coast?
Had Utah not been able to pull out that win last week, I would be all over them this week coming back home after a loss. But they pulled it out. Big emotional win. I don't know if they can get back up for this one. Oregon coming in off a bye week off that loss. They've had 2 weeks to figure out what went wrong, and now they got another top 15 matchup on the road. It's tough. It's tough for Oregon to get up for it again, but coming off a bye, I think they'll be ready.
Oregon played last Saturday, by the way.
They did? Who'd they play?
Yeah, they played Washington State. They played Washington and Washington State back-to-back weeks.
They played Washington, then Washington State. That's fine.
All on the road? This is their third straight road game?
No, that was a home game last week.
Oh, okay. This is still going to be a tough task for Oregon. Yeah, I don't know. They lost, so I flushed them. Figured they were out of it. Oregon's physical. I mean, this is going to be two physical teams battling out. It's going to be who can win the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be tough. It's not a foregone conclusion. I think Utah, their lack of a quarterback, still playing their backup quarterbacks. I don't think they're going to have enough offense to keep up with Oregon because Oregon can score in all kinds of ways. Do it through the air. They do it on the ground. Dr. Bob put the stat up earlier. Bo Nix, was he number 3 in the country, number 2 in the country in completion percentage?
Top 3, yeah.
They do it in a number of ways. So I think Oregon can pull it out. You only need a touchdown to cover that spread. I like that. Only needing 7 points. Yeah,
I sit with you there. I think that I like what you talk about, obviously, the wounded animal idea of Utah losing, coming back home. But, man, they don't have a really statistically powerful offense. And I think to beat an Oregon team that's pretty solid defensively, pretty obviously really good offensively, you've got to have balance. Utah's defense is going to be able to keep them in this football game, maybe even for 3 quarters. They're that good, and the offense isn't completely, feeble, but they can do some things. That being said, I'm going to take Oregon to cover this one. I think they do. Ralph, your thoughts?
To answer Will's question, Bo Nix leads the country in completion rating. So,
good for him. I think he still throws a lot of screens.
My thing is for the Oregon, yes, Utah's defense is very good, but they're most of the yards that come through, they give up are through the air, and Oregon throws it very well. They can air it out to the best of them. I think Oregon runs away with this one or later in the game. I think like a third quarter, come off of halftime, they come out and score early, and then they just kind of roll away with it. I just think Utah's good, but not having Cam Rising hurts them so much. And since he's no longer playing the rest of the year, Bryson Barnes has done enough to help them get to where they are right now. But Oregon's defense is way better than what they have been in the past. Dan Lanning done a great job there. So I got Oregon. Bo Nix still only thrown one interception all year. Just one interception all season long with 19 touchdowns. So I'm going to go Oregon. Normally I like to say, save the graphic, but I'm going to roll with Oregon this one.
Yeah, I like that one too. Dr. Bob says Oregon's the second most balanced team in America after Connor Stallion's team, the Fighting Wolverines up there in Michigan. I like that. That's a good one. He also says the athleticism of the Ducks at skill positions will be the difference. And then obviously Jonesy in here with his, minute by minute comments, updates about certain situations. Guys, real quick, I just want to get your quick takes because I'm going to have the show tomorrow on it. What do you think, UNC Georgia Tech? Just really quick. I'm not going to give a prediction. Ralph, you go first, Ralph. What do you think in this one? Past 2 years, Ralph and I have said UNC is going to beat the absolute what out of Georgia Tech. In the past 2 years, Georgia Tech
make it 3 in a row.
Is it Bobby
Make it
Dodd?
3 in a row.
Is it at Bobby Dodd?
It is homecoming. Yeah, they're expecting at least 20,000.
I would fill the vet up, so I can't say anything. I'm gonna go UNC. I'm going third year in a row. I like, but look, UNC's pissed, man. They played horrible last week against Virginia. You come out, you got Georgia Tech. They're having their homecoming game. If you were in high school, you played football, and someone had to use their homecoming game, it was quote unquote, it's personal now. So this is a game UNC goes in, play pissed off, go out there, and Drake May. I mean, Drake May is the best quarterback in the country. And going into the draft, I think he's number one in my opinion.
Potential wise, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I'm gonna take back what I said. I said Drake May's he's the best pro potential quarterback in the country right now. So
he's got all the measurables.
So I think, and with Tez Walker back now, I think this team is really good. So I'm going to go UNC.
I don't see them. I'm not going to say it. I don't see them making the same mistake 2 weeks in a row. That's what I'll say. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow night. Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like UNC by a lot. I think that Virginia game last week, just one of those games that you can't get up for because you think you're just going to roll over them. So, UNC by a ton.
By a ton. Hey, if you're a Georgia Tech fan, we will absolutely talk about that tomorrow night. 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern.
Wait. Georgia Tech plays at Syracuse this year?
Georgia Tech.
That's the only way.
Syracuse.
Well, that's the only way Haynes King's going to New York if they were playing at Syracuse.
Let me tell you something real quick. This might help Will feel better. Haynes King is 84th in the country in completion rating. Peyton Thorne is 66th in the country.
Yes.
Put the pits down, Will. Put the pits down.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna take a quick break.
I need some Dr. Squatch, I guess.
Are we going Dr. Squatch or are we going?
I mean, you got to run it now. He just sounds so.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to now on our second segment of the show. Make sure, first off, if you hadn't already, use code Bryce Koon to take a look. Get yourself some fantastic stuff there as well at drsquatch.com. Great stuff. They just came out, Ralph, with this nice little rainforest. I've been using it. It smells great. It smells like the whole shower, too. It's really good. I like it. Once again, got to get the robe to wear on the show. Still waiting for it.
We don't need to know your shower habits.
That's not safe for work. All right. We're going to go with games to watch real quick, Ralph, and then we're going to go into best bets. Because once again, shout out Dr. Bob. He sent me the Daggum Excel file at like 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. I mean, the guy's just working over shift at the hospital and then says, oh yeah, sorry, patient dying on their own, ER room 4. I've got to do this real quick. That being said, games to watch. Ralph, let's go with yours first. What game are you excited to watch this weekend? It's not Texas State and ULM, but man, that might have been the pick of the year.
That was a finish
of the year. Pick of the year. Pick of the year.
I have Oklahoma at Kansas is a 10-point spread for Oklahoma on the road at Kansas. If Jalon Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, if Jalon Daniels plays for Kansas, I think that 10-point spread is a little hard for the Oklahoma to beat. They're coming off the little rough win against UCF. They didn't play their best football. I'm going to go I think Oklahoma's going to probably pull this away, but I think Kansas has a good chance of making this a little closer than what we think.
Closer than what the experts think. Is that what you might be saying there, Ralph? I don't mind that. This is a game where I almost took Oklahoma to cover, just because I think the Sooners understand what is
They had their
at
scare last
stake.
week.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's obviously going to be a really, really fun one. Dr. Bob performs autopsy, so if the patient in ER before dies, Dr. Bob will have more business. I don't really understand how I should feel about this comment from Dr. Bob. It changes a lot of things I thought about you there, sir. Will, what's your game to watch on the weekend?
Air Force at Colorado State. No, I'm just kidding. Although that's going to be a good one to watch. I'm actually going with BYU at Texas. Texas nearly blew it against Houston last week. They were 3 touchdown favorites, and they ended up winning by, was it 7? I think it was 7.
Yeah, and it was on a controversial call too that they were able to keep and win that game.
They ran out to a big lead and really blew it. So I'm interested to see how they come out and play in this one. BYU, I mean, they're off to a really good start. Year 1 in the Big 12, they're sitting at 5-2, 2-2 in conference. Keaton Slovis has played maybe his best year in college so far. He's been in college for about 15 years, it seems like. 12 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's been really efficient. I think Texas will win it and probably win it pretty big, but interested to see how they react after that Houston game and then have to get up for another formidable opponent in BYU.
Yeah, BYU, no slouch. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a couple years ago, and I think Tom Herman was the head coach. I think this was after Strong. BYU beat Texas in Austin. I don't remember who. I don't know if it was Tom Herman or Charlie Strong, but that was obviously a matchup that obviously BYU is one of those teams. And I'll say this too: I'm starting to think a bucket list item for me is to go to a game at BYU. That is one of the more picturesque venues in college football. When you see, and I think it'd be kind of cool to be a part. Was
that when BYU was out there in independent land? I think they were an independent when they played Texas.
I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right. Wandering the wilderness 40 days, 40 nights out there in Provo. I'm going to go to my game where, look, this one's tomorrow night, and I am pumped about this one. Georgia State, Georgia Southern. This is a true rivalry game, ladies and gentlemen. This is what is absolutely, you talk about and I don't think a lot of people. Long story short, I broke into being able to cover college football by covering Georgia State. And what's hilarious is that Georgia Southern's AD, they do not recognize this as a rivalry between the two schools. They recognize Georgia Southern App State because of all the matchups they had in the FCS and, playoffs and everything, that kind of state kind of idea. But, this one is called modern day hate. That's what they call it now instead of clean old fashioned, which I think this is the best in-state rivalry in the state of Georgia that you have right now. These two teams going, at it. One, Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong here. This has a lot of Sun Belt East implications of what could happen. Yes. Georgia State got a big win in Louisiana last weekend. I don't remember who Georgia Southern played. That being said, this is a big one. This is for bragging rights. A lot of these guys grew up playing against each other in high school. Thursday night game down there in Paulson Stadium, which is going to be rocking. Great fan base they have down there. I'm excited to watch this game. I'll be tuned in tomorrow night.
It was ULM. Georgia Southern played them last week. And back
ULM, gotcha. Yeah.
And to answer your Texas question, it was 2014. BYU won 41-7. Taysom Hill was the quarterback.
Wow.
And Jamal Williams was the running back.
So that would have been Charlie Strong.
Was that Charlie? It was probably one of the last few years of Charlie Strong, if I'm not mistaken, of his tenure there. That being said,
was the quarterback.
Yeah, and here we go, Jonesy. His game to watch. Once, make sure to get your question. What are your games to watch? Just says I'll miss that game. Watching Bowden Middle School play Harrelson Middle for a chance to play a championship at UWG football field. Shout out West Georgia, moving up to the FCS ranks. State of Georgia becoming really competitive with what they're trying to do in college football. But guys, that's our games to watch. And man, there's never a down day in college football, especially the Conference USA wrapping up their conference play for the week tonight. They played Tuesday and Wednesday and said, hey, our 5 teams are done for the week. So we'll get to relax on Saturday. When we come back, one more break, we're going to best bets. We're bringing out the spreadsheet if I can download it. We'll be here in just a second.
Oh, yikes.
Hey everyone, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milt decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall. All right, back here on the Crowded Booth, make sure to check out Cajun Cousins as we wrap up our final segment of the show. Guys, it's best bets time, and I'm happy to report that all three of us hit on our picks. Ralph, buddy, how does it feel to get back in the win column? Not since week 4, my friend. You're living large. You're living large and proud.
It was a ballsy pick last week. It truly was.
Missouri -7. I was surprised. You went there.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there, but that was the only way I had a feeling that it might happen. So, yeah, it feels good to be back in the win column. Feels good to be back with y'all guys in the win. So,
Take a look right here. If you guys can see it, I can zoom in just a tad more here as we take a look at weeks 0 through 8 now. Ralph with a big win last week, Missouri -7 against South Carolina. Guys, mine just hit USF -2 against UConn. I escaped with that one. And just barely getting by. USF's been nice to us, though, Will. You got one with the Bulls down there. I got one. And then Will with one of the great plays of the week in a big snooze fest. Rutgers -5 against Indiana for no other reason the fact that Indiana is awful. So
Rutgers is good. I mean,
Greg Schiano is a good coach.
Relatively speaking, Rutgers is good. I mean, if you like to bet and you can get them as a single digit favorite, I would be all over it. I think they're off this week, so I can't go back to the well.
That's okay, though. That's okay. Hey, let's get an update on our records before we give this one. Bryce, week 0 notwithstanding, because we're not counting that because no one else had one. I am 5-3 through 8 weeks. Ralph, 4-4. Ralph, you needed that dub, especially with Will and I winning. And then Will, gets back on the win column after a loss last weekend the other way, actually. Man, that's nuts. Ralph, or Will, you are, apologies, 5-2-1 in that category. So we're going to have to kind of settle because if Will and I keep pace the rest of the way, it's going to be weird. But we'll have to see. Ralph is always a winner, no matter what. I wonder why. Ralph, you got any guests in your apartment tonight? That might be what Jonesy's talking about here. Ralph's looking for him. He doesn't see him. And let's go right here.
I think the tie break should be underdogs getting outright wins. Maybe that's because I'm leading in that category right now.
Yeah, I mean that might be, but we'll have to come up with something. Maybe championship week. We go to a potential thing right there. That'd be or we even hold it and we pick all the bowl games, and whoever has the best record in the bowl games.
I'll be picking all the bowl games anyway. Do it every year.
Yeah, it's season degenerate anyways. Doesn't matter. Let's rock and roll.
Not against the spread, just straight up.
Just straight up. Hey, speaking of that, if you haven't already, I'm going to post the link down below. We have a completely free ESPN Pick'em League. Will is second. Will cannot win. I don't know who the person is first. If you win this, you get a free, smart TV. So it's on you.
Bryce has eliminated me from contention.
Will cannot win. So I'm going to post the link in the Discord, post the link here. If you want to be a part of it, you got to jump in right now because the records are just all over the place. I think 4 people I've picked every single week, and there's a handful of people who just picked it, deleted the app, and threw their phone in the ocean. I just completely forgot about it. That's Ralph. Ralph threw his outside of the UPS truck.
I actually did today.
He can afford a new one, $175K a day.
$175K a day. Let's rock and roll. Ralph, since you got back on the tricycle after getting, falling off, scraping your knee a couple times. Give me your best bet of the week. I know we're all going out west. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Colorado plus 17. I think at UCLA. I think UCLA's it's a good team. Look, the 17's a lot of points for this team to cover. Colorado's only game they haven't scored enough points to cover, or except for Stanford, was the Oregon game. They got the break speed off of them.
Yeah,
I think UCLA's defense is good, but they give up a lot of passing yards, and that's where Colorado excels in their offense. So I'm looking for Colorado to go out there and score, just have a shootout with UCLA. But UCLA's offense really isn't as good as I was thinking it with Dante Moore, so we'll see what they can do.
I like that one. I like your reasoning too, for some solid reasoning there. Will, your best bet, and Dr. Bob, make sure you're getting these down in the spreadsheet. Your best bet of the weekend. I know you're staying out in the Pac-12 as well.
Will,
Sorry, I lagged. Am I here?
Go ahead.
What's happening?
Your
Yeah,
best
you're
bet.
I'm here.
Your
I'm
best
here.
bet. Of the
Okay.
week. Yes.
Arizona plus 3.5 against Oregon State. Arizona is sneaky good. Their defense is really sneaky good. They're top 20 in several defensive categories. Third down percentage, I think they're top 20. But they're really good. Their run defense is really good. That's the strength of the Oregon State offense.
Actually, just time out. Actually, Jonesy,
I do.
Ralph has the WoW internet. Will does not. But anyway,
I can afford here.
Keep going, Will.
Yeah. I think Arizona's defense at home, that run defense will do a really good job limiting Oregon State. We've seen DJU really needs that run game to get the pass game going at quarterback for Oregon State. I think Arizona's run defense will be the difference in this game. And I really, really like what Jed Fish is building at Arizona, and he's really starting to get those results, played USC really tough. I think they come away with a win here against Oregon State.
Ooh, so you would take Arizona money line too.
I would.
Not for the best bets portion, but just obviously
I'll take the
you do like
points.
this. Take the points. No, I do agree with you though. And what's going to be a transition year to get to the Big 12, Arizona and Arizona State, honestly, are getting to a point, and that brings up mine. I'm staying out west. My best bet of the week right here, it does involve Arizona State, I do believe, Ralph, unless I changed it. Washington State -6. I think that Washington State has a chance to kind of offensively exercise some of the frustration they had last weekend against Oregon. They played them well, but I think this is a game where they're going to go on the road to Tempe Stadium there in, I guess Tempe, Arizona is where the school is. I don't even know. That's how much I pay attention to the Pac-12. But I do believe Washington State -6 is where I sit. It's going to be very, very interesting as you see the Wildcats continue, another team that is honestly, fighting for relevancy and, in college football.
Wait.
Not having
Wildcats.
Washington State. Did I just call them the Wildcats? I don't even know the name of the team.
Cougars.
Cougars, man. The Cougars.
The Cougars. I was still thinking
the
Arizona.
High school dude.
Yeah.
To quote the great Mike Leach, the Coug always finds a way.
Will a Haas-nology.
I
Thank God
have
knowledge is not a
Spectrum.
thing.
Spectrum is worse.
That just opened us up to a whole bunch of jokes right there. Washington State -6 versus Arizona State. That is our best bet. See, you can't do this because this is what happens when you do this.
Don't do it.
Dr. Bob, big game of the desert. Oregon State's hopes of a Rose Bowl bid for the first time since 1965 hinge on this game. Dr. Bob is officially stats and info, man. I mean, it's just
Oregon State and Washington State. Both of them have a great chance to make the Rose Bowl next year, being the two-team Pac-12.
Good God. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay. That being said, hey, we thank you so much for joining in. Each and every single Monday and Wednesday night, we talk college football. On Mondays, we recap. Wednesdays, we look ahead. If you're a Georgia Tech fan tuning in, you stumble across the channel. Sundays and Thursdays, 8:30 Eastern. And then obviously we've got our NCAA streams. Will just grinding through his, man. He's having a fun time. What you don't know is that Will played NCAA for like 6 hours yesterday before he got onto that. And it's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to end it with this one, Dr. Bob. So we don't get copyrighted on this one. Fight for Washington State. Win the victory. We're going to win the day for the Crimson and Gray. It's Dr. Bob, stats and info. Fantastic, absolute show.
This man playing with that Auburn team.
This man is just absolutely going through the lyrics of the fight song, and we love it. Ralph Leary, Will Mannis. My name is Bryce Koon. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're listening after the fact, whether that's on Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Google Play, whatever the heck that is. If you have it, we appreciate you doing that. If you're listening across radio with WQEE, we appreciate you as well up there in Noonan. Jonesy, if you want to listen to the show again, it's going to be tomorrow, 9 p.m. Central, or 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central on the radio there in the Noonan, Georgia area, covering East Alabama and West Georgia. We'll catch you next time here on another episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.